There is a real rental stress happening out in this area. It's happening across the board. There used to be a bit of a myth that if you moved out further in the outer east, your rents got cheaper. That's not the case anymore. We know people in those areas are doing it just as tough as Whitehall's people. We also know there's an increase in homelessness in this area. It's hidden, people don't see it, but we know it's happening. We also know that the percentage of people's income that's going into their rental is getting to a percentage that's beyond management. And we know that there are unscrupulous landlords out there that take advantage of people. And we are advocating very, very hard to try and get some more resources to be able to support tenants in those renting situations. Yeah.
Dogs barking?
Dogs barking, yes. It's a good one. And the other one we used to get a lot of at the dispute settlement centre was the dog poo being thrown over the fence. Oh, that was the way over it being. She'd throw the poo over the fence. Yeah, dogs barking is an issue. And again, I don't make light of that. If you're trying to get sleep and you've got a dog that's barking all night long and you can't sleep, absolutely something I would be upset about too. So it is something. There are local government come into play when it comes to any rules around animals, and they would be the first port of call if you contact them. And of course, if you've got a dog that attacks or is actually vicious, then I think you guys come into it. Yeah, sort of causing safety issues.
Cats going onto other people's property.
Yeah, I think that sits with the local bylaw kind of thing. I think some councils have laws about cats being locked up at night. I think Whitehall does. Certainly I do. I lock my cat up at night. I think that sits very much with local laws. And as we know, cats are pretty hard to contain and keep them off the roof. They like high places. That's what they do. So, yeah.
What about motor vehicle accidents?
Yeah, motor vehicle accidents is three things when people have an accident. Often we've got three sides of it. One is that the property damage, of course, to the car, and yes, we can give some limited advice about that. I mean, I would love nothing more than us to have compulsory insurance, because that way that would rule out all the need for lawyers in that space, because insurance companies would just have to fix cars. But unfortunately, again, because of the cost of insurance, there are lots of people out there that can't afford to have their car insured. They then have an accident. My nephew, 2 weeks on the road the other day, ran into a lamppost. Thank God he's okay. He's okay. $20,000 for the pole that came down on his car. He had third-party insurance. It's okay, but if that happens to you, that's a life-changing event. So apart from the fact he's physically okay, that's of course what matters. But insurance is something I would love everyone to have the view that if you can't afford the insurance, don't drive the car. And I would love that to be the case. But unfortunately, some people just can't afford insurance, and therefore they do come to us. So that's one thing. The second thing, of course, is that they've broken a law and they've been charged by Victoria Police, quite rightly, because they've done something wrong. Yes, we can help them with that. We can give them some advice about what they might do to present their case better at court. We wouldn't go to court for them, but we'd certainly give them advice about what the penalty might be. We would give them some advice about the legislation, whether it's something they have a defence to. And we would give them some advice about what they can do to try and, as I said, present their case the best they can possibly do it to court. And then the third thing, of course, is if, so heaven forbid, somebody gets hurt, they're actually injured as a result of the accident, it becomes a TAC matter. We don't touch those just because there are specialised lawyers, what I talked about before, your cardiologists of the law. We've got some really good TAC lawyers that specialise in personal injuries and car accidents and work cover. So we straight away send people to those lawyers to see, because it's a very specialised area of law. There's another one that we haven't touched on, and again, it's not exactly a pleasant topic, but I like to take advantage of being able to do that in this space. Family violence, about 10 years ago, people would say, oh yeah, it happens a bit, but it's not really that big a problem. We're now in a space where the other thing people are saying that about is elder abuse. People are saying, yeah, it exists, but it's not that big a problem. It is that big a problem. Can I say that to you here? I'm not saying for a minute that any of you are in a situation where this is happening, but it could be that your neighbour or your friends or someone that you know of is. I think it's something like 97% of perpetrators in elder abuse are family members. They are people that you love and trust, and they are taking advantage of their older relatives. And more often than not, it is the financial abuse than the physical stuff. And, you know, if you want to look for reasons that triggers it, it could be because of the housing crisis, and lots of adults can no longer afford to buy their own house. So they see the little nest egg that mum or dad have accumulated as being an opportunity for them. And we are finding that to be a bigger problem now, and we haven't even scratched the surface on that one. We know that. And I just like to flag it when I'm at sessions like this just to raise some awareness around that. We've actually just done a video, it's on our website if you're interested. It's called Behind the Curtain, and it's actually targeting at the GPs, because we know that lots of older people are going to the doctors, and it's more likely to be the doctor that they're going to say something to about what's going on at home. And we're finding that GPs are not necessarily hearing that, and they're not recognising that that person might be at risk. So we're trying to raise some awareness around elder abuse, not just with the broader community, but with GPs. And I know Victoria Police have been doing some great work in that space to try and raise awareness. And in this area, we've got a particular project that's come actually out of the Sheriff's Office. So we all know the Sheriff's Office are the last resort. They come in when they've got their warrants, and often, sadly, they've got to a stage where they have to make people homeless, and that's going to happen as a result of all these warrants that they've got against the person. And there is a very concerning trend in this area, and it's particularly three communities, being the Chinese and the Greek and the Indian communities. Mainly because they're the established communities, they've actually managed to gather some wealth because they've worked really hard to get where they've got to. And we're finding a problem because of language, that they have agreed, or their signature's been fraudulently used, or whatever is the case, to go guarantor for a loan for their adult children who haven't made great decisions, whether it's a business loan or whatever it might be. Unfortunately, it's gone through the whole legal system, and they've not known about any of it because they don't have language. They often lose their English as you get older. You lose your second language. And it gets to the stage where the Sheriff's Office are literally knocking on the door to say, you've got 5 days and you're out on the street. And that can be the first time that they've heard about the fact that they're even got this debt over their head. And I'm not saying that to be military, that's actually happening in our region. So we've got a project that we're running at the moment to try and raise awareness. And I say this with all due respect. I'm basically trying to say to people, it's okay to love your kids, just don't trust them. And that's kind of the message I'm saying to you, that, if your children, and I'm sure I love my kids desperately, I think they're the most amazing young men, but I tell you what, I ain't going to guarantor for them ever. I'm never signing a document to say that they're getting my stuff, because I've worked really hard to get my stuff. So just please beware. And please, if you do know someone who's doing it tough in that space, tell them there is some help out there. And there's a legal centre, the Senior Rights Victoria, that specialises in elder abuse, and they will be more than happy to help. Because sadly, we do know, because people are so vulnerable at that stage in their life, they don't seek any help because they don't think they've got any choices. Am I out of time, Ray? You're standing up. I'm happy to move on. So,
But you're not getting led off. If there's questions made, we come back to you.
and there's some goodies for people to take
Right.
from here.
And if Sarah and Beck say anything against, don't agree with you, there'll be more questions.
We work incredibly well together. It's a bit of a myth that lawyers hate police and police hate lawyers. It's actually not true. We actually work really well together. They pull in faces behind my back. Yeah. But I'd set it up.